Clearly there was a naturalistic level, which is a naturalistic semi-documentary, or as close as you can make documentary in a building that's wrapped up in black plastic in daytime is meant to be night and whatever, but you know what I mean. Naturalism.
Eden was the catalyst that triggered your fear. You jumped to conclusions and tied the emotional event with the place. When you feel threatened, it's natural to react.
Then you've got the visualization scenes, which are the beautiful monumental scenes. There are also anxiety montages, which is something developed out of our pre-production, and I eventually found these lenses that have been used on other films called lens babies, which are actually a cheap, but I think really organic way of messing the image up and breaking down the focus levels, but getting images into a more deconstructed, decomposed, abstract area, but you can still control where you want the viewer to look. We have transition from handheld to linear movements, which we have a kind of underlying philosophy about why we do it. But basically, technically, it means the camera has to move from a slight simulated handheld movement, which Peter York will be able to tell you about, but which we simulated on my body movement, and then going into an absolutely smooth movement towards whatever we're pointing the camera at.
All you feel is a pleasant warmth and heaviness. Your breath is deep, regular, easy.
It's high-speed shots. We shoot, generally the film is shot on a red camera, 2 red cameras, but it's also shot on a phantom camera, which is also digital, 2K digital camera that can capture up to 1,000 frames a second as opposed to 24, 25 frames a second, which is a complicated setup. You have to have a special operator in, it's a special camera, but it creates these extraordinary images which you see in the black and white in the beginning, for example, when you slow down film time to exactly the speed the Lars wants it.
Well, just as Lars has worked many times with Anthony Mantle before, he's also worked almost every time on every film. He has some technical stuff to develop and some visual ideas that he wants to try out. And he, almost every time, he works together with Peter York. And Peter York is a wonderful nerd. He's extremely nerdy, and he's very, very savvy. He knows his thing. And I think he's one of his kind in the world, and I don't think you can find people who can, every time you go to him and say, what if we invent this thing that can do, and he just starts thinking and he comes up with machines or computer programs or ideas, or he finds the right people to train a fox or paint a whatever. He's Lars's buddy on the whole technical stuff, and he's been for years. He went through the storyboard with the storyboard artist and Lars for a week or so, and he made Lars go through every scene and every picture and making all the decisions together with Lars. And that was a period where Lars wasn't feeling very well, so he was a huge part of that. Yeah.
Vi kigger lidt på, hvordan det ser ud, når dårdyr føder. Det er faktisk, vi er over i et rådyr nu, som også findes i Amerika. Så kan du se dernede, hvad det så bliver til. My key job is to take ideas out of Lars's head and try to put them on paper and try and pass this information to other people, like the animal trainers, the special effect makeup guys, the motion control guys, all the people who are involving in making the shot happen. Because if Lars was supposed to give this briefing to everybody, he wouldn't be doing anything else than talking to all these people. So we have like a way of communicating, and we use the sketches for that because it's very easy to talk from a sketch and then break it down into the different technical solutions. The famous Disney deer Bambi was really a roe deer in the original story.
Okay.
Disney changed Bambi's species to the white-tailed deer because too few Americans would know what a roe deer was.
Det er klart. Og det var et rådyr oprindeligt.
Peter Hjort I worked with for a long time also, and we done a lot of special effects, computer design stuff. We started working together on Dancer in the Dark, and yes, extremely loyal and very, very good. I would, if it hadn't been for him, there was a lot of these things that couldn't have been done. So he's a good man. It's the last resort, when you go to him and he can, do magic to the images.
The funny thing is that there's some shots that he can tell you on the first day of sketch drawing how it's supposed to look, and he can even do a rough sketch, and down to every little detail he can tell you this is how the shot should be. And it's very seldom that that we deviate a lot from that. We worked with a little bit of storyboards and stuff, and then we did a test, which was very important. And we tried to do something, just a small part of the film, but with the real technology at full resolution, as a real film shoot, and even with real actors, even really good actors that have a psychology like the actors that was anticipated for the final film. For the test, we also did some ultra high-speed shooting, and we found out what the challenges of that were. One of them being lighting and having enough power for all the lights. A simple thing like that was really complicated for our test because we were in the woods and we needed a lot of power, and we had generator trucks burning out in the middle of the shoot because we were putting so much light on the scene that the generator stopped working. So we learned that we had to really plan this high-speed shooting, and also Lars could see the visual aspects of this, and he really liked the look of this 1,000 frame per second digital camera. I would say it's not a big difference between the Acorn scene we shot for the test and the scene that is in the movie, except that we did some different animation, it's another lead actor in the picture, but essentially it's the same shot. So when we did that shot on the shoot, I had actually done it once before.
Peter Hjort, an extraordinary fellow. He's such a creative doctor of images, and I've worked with him a lot over the years, and with Lars and with different directors. And I've learned a lot from him, so I feel more comfortable in a lot of situations, but it's always nice to have Peter there. He also was there for us so that when I was bound by the actors and working with the A-camera, working with Lars and working with the actors, he could then break out together with Stefan, who was also working as a second operator occasionally, and they could go off and do some of these time-consuming shots that he knows all about that aren't anything to do with actors, but are to do with effects and CGI. It's excellent. It worked very well. He's very good at going in there and controlling the degree of effect to how much it becomes an effect and how much it becomes camouflaged as something that's magical, but it doesn't look like an effect. And I like him for that, and because if they're too excited about effects all the time, they become effects. They tend to dominate everything else. You're talking about acting as well. It tends to become something else, and it's finding that balance, and I think he's very good at that.
We did 1 day of studio shooting because it was impractical to put the green screen for the falling acorns, have that standing outside. That's one of the things we learned from the test, that a big green screen can be a challenge to handle outside if you have to light it and so on. And also we did this shot with the naked men on a green screen and some other small elements. So we did a little bit of studio shooting, but on the stage we did only 1 day of work. And I would say normally for a film like that it would have been, for a movie like Mandalay we did almost 2 weeks of just visual effects shooting on the stage. So to do just 1 day of shooting and then the rest on the real location was really nice.
I've been mentally much weaker on this film, and that means also that the picture side of the film is not as precise as I had wanted it. First of all, this thing that I normally would have operated the camera myself, which for me was a big thing, and I had to give it up. I didn't have the mental strength to do directing actors and filming at the same time. Yeah, I would say that I worked on 40% of my potential on this film. It was very hard.
We're used to working together in that way. I'm quite happy to share. It's not many I do that with, but if I feel they know what they want to do, and certainly Lars knows what he wants to do with the camera, I'm quite happy to share with him. And also operating costs what it does, and however much people talk about it and mumble about why you do that, for me it's nothing to do with that at all. It's about making the film. You make the film the director wants. In this case, we started off imagining we would probably operate together. He'd do a bit and I'd do a bit, and we'd see how it progressed. And quite early into the film, he just decided to pull back. He's done a few. You can see a few scenes. We are different. We operate differently. I try to simulate him, but it was harder for him this time. I think physically, it was harder for him this time, and so we decided I'd try and do the most of it. Always the same with Lars. He'll have an idea that may seem simple, or that's great, why didn't we think of that before? And it's quite concise and clear what he wants. And then when you start to develop it, and together with people like Peter Hjort or Stefan or the people that support me, and together we sit down and try and work out how to do it, invariably his ideas need really sophisticated solutions. But that's the fascinating thing about it.